Hey everyone, this is Wei, and thanks for joining me here once again. So for this video, I will be doing another shading of a basic geometry shape, and this time we're going to do a cylinder. And this is a very important shape because it's rounded, and as you know, most of the stuff, especially the human figure, it's all rounded shape. So we have to understand how light works on any kind of curved surface. So let's get started, and I'll talk about the process along the way. Alright, so let's sketch a quick cylinder so we can put in a light source and then shade it. So I'm just going to do a cylinder here. It's pretty much, a little squash circle. I'm going to go straight down. And then for the bottom, it's going to be the same kind of circle. Okay. So now notice when I draw the bottom circle, I'm also kind of drawing the back of it too. And that's because it's just a little bit easier to sketch that way. So if you're having problems with drawing this cylinder, this oval shape, let me show you a quick way of doing it. Okay, just let me sketch this up first. Just gonna go straight down. Okay, so now we have a cylinder. It's not perfect, but let's just go with it. For this oval, it is could be a little bit tricky to draw if it's something you're not used to doing. So it's basically just a circle, right? And then as you squash it down, it just gets narrow and more narrow. So you can practice just kind of doing these kind of shapes, these oval shapes. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're turning the corner here, this thing stays round, and a lot of beginners, when they try to draw these kind of shapes, they'll end up doing a shape like this, where the corners becomes kind of pinch. It's almost like an eye shape. Okay, so this is wrong right here. What you want to do is always keep that smooth, because it's a round shape. It's just being squashed down. Okay, so just keep that. Just keep a lookout for the corners. That's how you make better ovals. Okay, so now we have the cylinder. Let me put in a light source. Let's say we'll have the light. Now again, I'm putting a line here. Let me move this over a little bit. This is kind of like on the table, so I know where the light source is going to come up from. So let's say right around here. Okay, so let's put it right there. So let's envision this like a little stick lamp, and the light's gonna come here. All right, so if you looked at my shading for a cube, it's basically the same concept. Whenever light hits something that is perpendicular, that means it's flat on the surface. It's gonna be the brightest. So to figure out where for a cylinder, so let's just say, see, since the light is right here, we're going to know that this spot right here is actually going to be the brightest, right? Because the light is right here, and it's going to hit this surface right there. So it's going to hit right on, and then I'll make a little angle. It's going to hit it on the surface, and it's going to come right down. And just by looking at this angle, you know that this is going to be fairly bright because it's almost perpendicular. Okay. So we're gonna get so we know that this is gonna be the hottest part. Now to get the darkest part, which is where the light starts to fall off, okay, go from the bottom where the light is, and then go all the way to the corner, the outer edge. So you go straight over. You're gonna hit this edge right here. Okay. So basically, if you draw a line down here like this, this is gonna be your darkest part. Because light, as it hits here, it's not going to be able to hit anything behind it. So if we look at it from the top view, okay, here's the top of your cylinder, and here's our light. So right here is the brightest, right, because it's dead on like 90 degrees. Now as we hit here, the angle becomes bigger and bigger, right, until it hits here, where it's almost just going to go straight through, so there's no light. So this area over here is going to be completely dark. Well, this light won't have any effect on this part. Okay, So we know this is gonna be lightest and this is gonna be darkest. All right, so once we know that, well, let's do the other side first. Okay, so we're gonna draw this one, and this is gonna be all the way in the back here. So, and see how it's kind of nice to, you know, have drawn the back of the cylinder so that you can know where, you know, where these parts are. So you can see visualize it a little bit better. All right, so now we know this is the darkest part. So let's see, let me switch to my 4B so I can shade a little bit quicker. Okay, so I'm just gonna shade this in. This is gonna be the darkest part. I know it's a little bit messy, but I'm just trying to, I can smooth it out later. So as we go here, there's gonna be more, you know, as we approach this highlight area, it's gonna be lighter and lighter. Okay, so I'm just gonna sketch it, it's real light right here. I'm just making like small lines, and this is just really your basic cross hatching and a lot of hand control. And to get, you know, good hand control, you can, I do have some videos on that, so it is pretty important. It's very basic stuff, but it's nice to be able to, you know, have control so that you can, you know, push down hard when you need it to, and also light when you need it to. Okay, so let's see. All right, now for this side, it's gonna be a little bit light here too. This is rounding off, so I'm just gonna shade that in a little bit. Okay. So now you can kind of feel it a little bit, right? Let me accentuate this a little bit. Let's say the bottom, we can generally make it dark because, you know, there's usually a little gap there, right? So there's gonna be a kind of cast shadow. Okay, now the top. Now the top, I'm gonna switch to my 2B. So if we take a light here and we're gonna hit that surface, it's gonna bounce like that. So it's almost flat. So it's barely catching, you know, some of the light. So it's gonna be pretty dark, but it's it shouldn't be as, you know, as dark as this part, because this part, you know, you're not getting any light at all. So let's just try that and let's see how it goes. And as I, you know, shade the rest of the cylinder, you're gonna realize things might need to go darker or lighter. Okay, so all right, so now that we have this, well, what do you do on the back, right? Well, it all depends on the environment. So let's say, you know, this is our only light source, and there's probably some kind of bounce light on this thing so that it's not completely dark. So I'm just gonna, completely dark, because there's usually some kind of ambient light, right? Okay, so some light is bouncing back onto the surface. So I'm gonna make this a little darker. All right, so let's see, at this point, let me do the shadow, because it's actually pretty important. So to do the shadow, let's see the light. Remember this line right here? Well, that's where the light is hitting the edge of the cylinder, right? So we're gonna go straight back, and then this one's gonna go straight back. So this whole area is gonna be in shadow. And if we take the top part, I mean, this is gonna go all the way out there. So this is actually a very long shadow. It's gonna come all the way out here, but we're not gonna shade all that. So let me just shade this part dark. And the reason why you want to do the shadow is because it really helps to anchor the cylinder. Okay. You know, it really helps to give it space. And you can start feeling the shape. Okay, so this side here, I'm just using a 4B. All right, so let's just fade it out. Let's not have to go all the way there. So I'm gonna make this dark. Okay. Just moving things out a little bit. So now with this shadow here, this is very dark, which is correct. And this part, now that this is dark, this whole area looks a little bit too light now, right? So that's what I mean. It's just you know, the values is relative to everything else. So Once one part gets dark, then the other parts start looking a little bit lighter in comparison. So now it's getting a little bit smoother as I do more and more. Okay. All right. Now let's get to the really fun part is to bring this out. You know, make it more realistic, right? Because light in itself is like this area right here. There's a lot of bounce light. That's why it's not completely black. Now this table right here, or this surface area we have, that's a cylinder sitting on, it bounces back light up there. So, you know, there's got to be some kind of reflective lighting around this area, right? So let's see. So you take this, where this is situated right here, this part's completely dark. So it's not going to bounce much light back onto the cylinder. So you can make that a little bit darker. Okay. And then this part right here is bouncing right back up into the cylinder. So it should be a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to use a kneaded eraser. And you can see how it looks as I take away some of the darkness. So you can see, I mean, it's pretty minor, right? But you can see this, right? I'll darken this a little bit just to show better contrast. You can see how that feels like, you know, now that there's some light bouncing back up onto this surface. And that's what gives it, you know, realism, right? And then this part maybe, because this is all shadow area here, so it's not going to bounce as much light on this edge. So this can actually be a little bit darker too. Okay. Okay. So now it feels a little bit better, right? It just feels a little bit more solid. Okay. So that is not too shabby, all right? Okay, so now if you want to go into a little bit more detail, let me see, I'm gonna switch to my 2B. Now look at this, this is the point light right here, right? It's casting right here. And so right here is the hottest spot. But if the light is to come down here, you can see that when it hits here, the angle is actually a lot wider. So really what that means is this should be a little bit darker, this bottom part. It should not be as bright as this part right here, the top part, which is getting, you know, almost a perpendicular shine from the light. So I'm gonna shade this a little bit darker as it goes up. Again, very light strokes. I'm just barely touching the surface. Okay, so I'm gonna make that a little bit darker. So now it feels like, let's see. Yeah, you can see that this spot is a little bit hotter now, right? Which is correct, you know, from this light angle. So I'll make that a little bit darker. Now if you want to get real tedious, you know, there's gonna be some bounce light from here up back here. So that means this edge down here will be a little bit lighter than, so I'm just gonna dab it. I'm probably taking out, actually, that's not bad. So now you can feel, you know, that glow, right? That little glow from the floor. So here, this is pretty bright right here. So I'm just gonna make this edge a little bit darker, and now make this, you know, this edge right here really pop out. And that's, you know, one of the things I like to do is just, you know, accentuate things, you know, because you don't want to do everything realistic. You know, this is where the art comes in, and it makes it much more interesting. Okay. So that's pretty much it. You know, just identifying where it is. You know, this is what they call a terminator, because where the light terminates. So once you have that, you know, then you can, and once you have the terminator, and then once you have the hottest spot, which is the highlight, then you know everything else is just like a gradation in between. All right, so just try it out. It's pretty easy. Just go cylinder, put a light anywhere that you want, okay, and then shine it through. Find out where the terminator is, right? That will be the darkest part, and then just shade that. And here's find out where the lightest part is, okay, and then just shade from there. Go from there, and then the back will be whatever ambient lighting you have. In the top, this is probably hitting it. Okay, so you can see how rough this is, but then it gives you a pretty good idea of just how the shape will look, and gives a form. And really, when you sketch whatever, any kind of complex form, you can kind of approach it this way. Just apply this kind of basic geometry. Like if it's an arm or whatever, you can still recognize it as a cylinder and go from there. Of course, it's gonna be much more complicated, but it's really, strip it down to the basic form so you can simplify things so you can draw it. Alright, so give this a shot, and I will see you next time.